Hello, this is Keenan Park, and this is Wylock 7th grade worksheet lesson 7. For our first question, we have this car that was priced originally at $4,000 and is now on sale for $3,800. So what is the percentage markdown? So the markdown is how much it decreased in money, and we're trying to find the percentage decrease. So from 4,000 to 3,800, you can tell that it decreased by $200. So the price went down by $200. And now we want to convert this into some kind of percentage. And so the way this works is that the $4,000 is the original price, and the original price is equal to 100%. And now we have to convert this $200 into a percentage, keeping in mind the original price of $4,000. So to do this, we can create a fraction with 200 at the top and 4,000 at the bottom, because we're comparing the $200 to the 4,000. We're seeing what portion of 4,200 is. And if you do this, you'll get 1 over 20, which as a decimal is equal to 0.05. And 0.05, you should be able to convert this into a percent. It's 5%. So the percent markdown is 5%. That problem is not real. And then for the next problem, the retail price of shoes is marked up by 20%, and now the selling price is 96%. So what was the wholesale price? So in this case, the wholesale price is the original price. So we have some original price. Let's call it P. And then that was 100%. So the original price is 100%. And next, it got marked up to 20%. So that makes it 120%. We marked it up. And so this original price got marked up, and it became, we can see here, $96. So both of these changes should be multiplying by the same amount. So what can we do to find 100%? Well, we can just use division. So if we divide $96 by 120%, you should get P. And if you don't get how that works, another way to think about it is the ratio from P to 96 should be the same as 100% to 120%, because they both got marked up 20%. And we can write that like this: P over 96 equals 100% over 120%. And if you cross multiply out, you'll get 1.2P is equal to, keep in mind 100% is just 1, so that'll just be 96. And then you divide both sides by 1.2. And then let me move up to here. You'll get P is equal to 96 over 1.2. And so, like I said before, it was just 96 divided by 1.2, or 120%. And that happens to be $80. So our answer should be B, $80. All right. Moving on to the next question, we have, for every 2 roses in a bouquet, the florist arranges 3 tulips. And the total number of flowers, roses and tulips, in all bouquets is 240. So how many tulips are there in all bouquets? So we have a ratio here. Every 2 R, there are 3 T. I'm just going to say R is roses and T is tulips. And so we know the total number of bouquets is 240. So that means the number of roses and tulips, if we add them together, you'll get 240. So we know for every 2 roses, there's 3 tulips. And for every 3 tulips, there's 2 roses. But we want to find how many tulips there are for the total number of flowers. And so if there are 3 tulips for every 2 roses, that means this is a total of how many flowers? It's 5 flowers. So that means the ratio of tulips to flowers is 3 to 5. So 3 over 5 should equal the total number of tulips, I'll say X, over 240, And once again, you can cross multiply, or you can do some like side to side cancellation. Here, let me just show you. This becomes 48 because we multiply both sides by 5. And so the 5 cancels. There's like, I can write a little 5 here. And then these 5 and this 5 cancels. And this 5 and this 240 simplifies to 48, or x over 48. And so you'll get 3 times 48 equals x. And so what does x equal? X equals 144. So there are 144 tulips in all of the bouquets combined. Alright. And now we have this ratio. This colon should not be there. If the ratio from x to y is 2 to 3, and the ratio of y to z is 6 to 5, what is the ratio from x to y to z? So you want to combine these two and merge the y's. Unfortunately, we can't merge the y's right now because if you notice, this 3 and this 6, they are not the same. They have to be the same in order for us to merge, in order to keep this ratio to work for all 3 of them. So what we can do is we can multiply both sides of this relationship by 2. So 2 to 3 becomes 4 to 6. They're the same thing. Just the same way that 2 over 3 equals 4 over 6 is fractions, the ratios 2 to 3 and 4 to 6 are the same. And this, now, it pairs nicely with our 6 to 5 relationship. So x to y is 4 to 6, and y to z is 6 to 5. So we can combine them to get x to y to z is going to be 4 to 6 to 5. So we get our answer of D. And next, Ariana puts $100 in a bank that pays 10% compounded annually. So how much money will she have in her bank account after 2 years? So compounded annually means you get 10% of the interest, and then next year you get 10%. So on the first year you get 10% on the amount you have. The next year you get 10% on the new amount you have. So $100 will become a little bit more than 100, some new amount of dollars. And then you'll compound another 10% to get even more money. So this interest just keeps on growing, and because it works on the old interest, the amount of money you get each time increases. So on the first year, she gets 10% of her interest, or 10% interest on her money. 10% of $100 is $10. So she adds $10 to what she originally had, which was $100, and she gets $110. So, but that's not the answer because that's only the first year. And then you get 10% on top of that. So 110 was 10% of that. 10% of 110 is 11, and now you add those two together and get 121. So after 2 years, she has $121. Number 7, the balance on Peter's bank statement is negative $20. How much money does Peter have to deposit so that the balance on his statement is $0? Well, Peter's in debt right now, $20 in debt. So in order to get it up to 0, he has to match that amount of debt with his own money. It should not be negative because that would be adding more debt, and then Peter would be in an even worse situation. So we want to match the amount of money he has and the amount of money he's in debt for, and then they'll cancel out to be 0. And now these are just some sums. I'll only go over a few of them since you should be able to have the hang of them by now, hopefully. We'll start with number 2. 4 plus 3 plus negative 10.2. So you can expand these or get rid of these parentheses, and it'll become 4.3 minus 10.2. And then from here, it's just subtraction. So we have 4.3 minus 10.2. And we realize 10.2 is actually larger than 4.3, so we can't really do the subtraction. So instead, what you can do is you can flip this into a negative version of 10.2 minus 4.3. or you can draw a number line. And then we can solve this inside first and then add a negative sign to it. So 10.2 and 4.3, we subtract those, you get 9 here, and then the 1 gets carried over and all that, and so you will have 5.9. And then don't forget the negative side we included here, so the final answer becomes negative 5.9. Skip over to one that has fractions. Here we see 4 and 1/5 plus negative 9 and 1/2. So first thing we want to do is convert these into improper fractions. It's easier to do math with improper fractions usually. So 4 and 1/5. 4 is 20/5. So 20 and 1, that's 21/5. Next we have plus negative 9 1/2. So I'll change that to a negative, and then 9 and 1/2. 9 is 18 halves, so that's 18 plus 1/2, which is 19 halves. So now I have 21 over 5 minus 19 over 2, and now we want to find a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this by 2, the top and the numerator and the denominator, the top and the bottom of this fraction by 2, so the bottom becomes 10. And then I'm going to multiply this by 5, the top and the bottom, the denominator and the numerator. I said that in the reversed order, but it's okay. And so on the left side, we have 2 times 21 is 42. And now that's minus, and then that will be 95 over 10. So now we have 42 minus 95 all over 10. What's 42 minus 95? Well, hopefully you're more comfortable with negative numbers now, and you can see that that's 53, but negative 53 over 10. And so if you want it to be in a decimal, that will be negative 5.3. And that's all for today. Thank you for listening.